Israeli army report admits errors were made in the killing of 14 Palestinian medics and a UN employee in southern Gaza last month. They were shot dead by Israeli soldiers, buried in a shallow grave and found a week later. The army denies trying to cover up the killings. Well, Mahmud Basal is the Gaza Civil Defence Spokesman. He joins us on the line from Gaza City. Good to have you with us. First of all, to you, was this a credible investigation and report by the Israelis?
As a matter of fact, the Israeli occupation forces always provide false pretext in an attempt to justify any of the crimes committed by them. This is a full-fledged war crime. That's why the Israeli occupation forces falsely claim that these were members of Islamic Jihad resistance movement. Yet, we, the civil defense, have established from day one that all our team members are pure civilians. They are not affiliated to any military action. We are operating in a government led by Hamas. However, none of us is a Hamas fighter or a militant. We are operating under any government taking the lead of Gaza Strip. That's why all the claims propagated by the Israeli occupation forces are false. What applies to us applies to the Red Crescent. They are part and parcel of the Palestinian Authority. These are false allegations as simply meant by the Israeli occupation forces to justify their crimes.
Well, if I could, Mahmoud, jump in. Let's try and talk about some of those specific allegations or references in this report by the Israelis. They reference poor night visibility. There isn't, though, much explanation as to why the Israeli troops would not have been able to see Palestinian ambulances with their lights on, their sirens going, especially if the drone footage shows they were only 20 to 30 meters away from the convoy when they were shooting. Is there anything that you see that could explain, or any reason why troops 20 to 30 meters away from an ambulance would not have been able to see it that night?
As I said earlier, this is a narrative always adopted by the Israeli occupation forces and their soldiers. It was clearly visible that these were ambulance vehicles flaring the emergency red and blue lights, also flaring their sirens. These were clearly visible ambulance vehicles. The Israeli occupation forces are simply providing false pretext in an attempt to justify their crimes. It is a full crime with premeditation and formed design. Our crews were flaring the emergency light and also blaring the sirens, which could be seen and heard miles away. The Israeli occupation forces, the Israeli soldiers, were fully aware that these were ambulance vehicles.
The report offers no evidence to back up claims that there were 6. It now downgrades the numbers that Israel alleges of Hamas members they allege were in that convoy from 9 to 6. But they don't provide any evidence that there were 6 Hamas members there. Can you categorically say you're sure there's absolutely no evidence of that?
Absolutely. There is no single shred of evidence. Each ambulance vehicle is carrying paramedics, crews. These team members are known to the Israeli occupation forces in terms of names and numbers. And above all, they were all sporting the orange bibs, the orange vests that clearly indicate they were paramedics and civil defense members.
The report also refers to what it's terming as a breach of order for the later shooting and killing of a UN official. Just for the sake of clarity of what you understand happened that night, is there any reason that you are aware of from the accounts, from the evidence that's emerged, of anything that that UN official could have, might have done to lead to a breach of order?
The mission under which these crews were deployed was a normal one. The crews moved, and their movement were already known to the Israeli occupation forces without any complications. Even the UNRWA vehicle was running in a normal way, which was clearly known to the Israeli occupation forces. However, there was an ambush by the Israeli task forces. Even the civilians were not aware of their presence. At that time, they were engaged with and started firing upon the ambulance vehicles. According to eyewitnesses who were close to the area, they confirmed that the area was clear, there was no fighting, and the ambulance vehicles were running in a normal way. The Israeli occupation forces falsely claims that this is a military zone. In other words, it was a calm and peaceful area. All of a sudden, the realities started to change, and the task forces opened fire on the paramedic crews.
Thank you very much for explaining your perspective on this report by the Israeli authorities. Mahmud Basal from the Gaza Civil Defence Spokesman.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.